What's going on, guys? This is Fletch here from Ultimate Halo, and I've recently finished Halo Bad Blood, and once again Matt Forbeck has done a fantastic job of capturing the dynamic between all of the characters in Alpha 9, especially considering the disjointed nature of the squad after Mickey betrayed Buck and the whole squad to join the insurrection in Halo New Blood. Now that I've finished Halo Bad Blood, it's also left me with more questions instead of answers, and warning, there are going to be spoilers for this book, and I will have a review coming very soon, so make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell when it's live. But if you don't want to hear any spoilers whatsoever, turn away now and watch when you've had a read.
Ultimate Halo.
So before we go ahead, I figured it might be a good idea just to have a little bit of a recap in regards to Halo New Blood. So Dutch retires, the rookie dies, Buck, Mickey and Romeo all become Spartans because of our lad June, and the long story short is that Mickey betrayed Alpha 9, went on a mission to save Virtual and Sadie, who were from Halo 3 ODST, from an insurrectionist on the United Rebel Front planet to Litza. The squad's then surrounded, Mickey basically says he's joined the front, they fight, Buck knocks him out, and then they manage to make it out, and Mickey is subsequently imprisoned. Since then, I'm sure everybody is aware, Buck has of course joined Fireteam Osiris and is quite vocal in saying that he's enjoying not being in charge of a squad, but instead just taking orders from somebody else, and he seems to very much look up to Spartan Locke and sees him as a very good leader. But then with all of that said, Veronica then informs Buck he has to get the band back together as the insurrectionists have a colony that's been undetected by Cortana's forces, and as such she wants Alpha 9 to get back together so that Mickey can be the middleman to keep peace and hopefully sway them into allowing them to investigate the technology. Long story short, it all goes south. They manage to make it off the planet with a minimal loss to civilian and squad life, and from that point a Guardian locates the planet because of an AI they encountered earlier on in the book, and shit goes down. What I will also say as well is that there's almost a sense of forgiveness from Buck. He's expressed quite strongly that I'd never forget what Mickey did, but Alpha 9 is somewhat permanently back together, and the book ends on the team being together on another classified mission. Buck seems to be very much relishing the experience once more. He seems quite happy. I don't think he'll ever look past what Mickey did, and you could tell by some of the interactions they had in the book that it was very, very hurt, and Mickey just did what he thought was right, and even though he stepped over his friends to do that, and I think that's what hurt Buck more. He quite openly said to Mickey, look, if you left a note in the barracks and then left from there, I still would have been frustrated, upset and angry at you, but not like I am now, not after you betrayed me and almost sacrificed me, or tried to imprison me on the back of it. So it was very upset, quite visibly in the interactions. Okay, so now I've set the scene and the premise, and I'm going to explore some possibilities in terms of story, if it ever was a thing, and what could happen and when could it release. So this is purely speculative, I'm not confirming anything, these are my thoughts, and I think there's sufficient evidence behind it. Now, first and foremost, there has to be a follow-up game to Halo Infinite, obviously, and I think a good way to bridge the gap between the next main sequel to Infinite is to also continue with other characters outside of the main sort of character set. I know I'm a little bit ahead of myself, but Halo's long-term success stretches far beyond Halo Infinite. Now, the Banished are currently a huge threat to the galaxy, as well as Cortana. Alpha 9 are all now Spartans, so they could be deployed alongside Red Team perhaps. I'm not too sure, it's just an idea. And along with all of that, there are a lot of loose ends in the franchise at the moment, and if Halo Infinite is going to concentrate on a Master Chief based story, then the games need to fill those gaps. So if Infinite releases in 2019, I would say it's looking likely to be a 2021 release. Let Halo Infinite have a really strong core life cycle, it'll still probably continue, but then let a Halo ODST 2 game really shine and have a little bit of time. It would also make a lot of sense given that the game development times do take a while, and being the successor to Infinite, it still gives it plenty of time to be a top quality game rather than annualized releases like a lot of franchises get these days. So to follow up on story, like I mentioned, there is the ending of Halo Wars 2, which leaves a lot of loose ends. Fireteam Osiris has gone off to do their own thing. I would imagine Buck would be replaced, and Spartan Gabriel was initially, when Halo 5 was being developed, was going to be that Spartan, but during the development cycle they thought it'd be a good idea to get Buck in as a character, which I will never disagree with by any means. Overall, why I think this whole idea is a benefit to fans and the franchise is that it can have a significant, or at very least a linked impact to the main franchise, giving players a reason to play it or a want to understand more about what's happening in the wider galaxy rather than just what's happening with the Master Chief, considering how diverse and rich the Halo universe is now. Also, whether or not Veronica and Dare can be a part of this is also interesting because, spoiler, just turn back if you don't want another plot point spoiling, Buck and Dare actually get married right at the end of the book on the UNSC Infinity. It would be nice to have an Oni character calling the shots for Alpha 9, almost because there's a mystery behind everything you do that you don't hugely understand. From a player's perspective, I think it's an interesting dynamic and it just makes them think, and it's almost interesting to not be in control of what's going to happen next, just sort of playing things out as they come. Another key point I do want to discuss is gameplay and mechanics. As I previously said, all of Alpha 9 are Spartans now, and they do have the ability that you would have in the current games, such as advanced movement. But the great thing about Halo 3 ODST was the weaker feeling compared to foes, and forcing more of a conservative style of play compared to, let's say, the traditional Halo games. Now this plays into another point about advanced movement that we could go into, and I think Halo Infinite will have more so of a classic gameplay. I don't fully feel it'll be all the way because I think there are certain selling mechanics in there, but also it's to please the fans. If we have one game with classic mechanics, one game with advanced movement, there's something for everybody in the franchise, and it also makes each game unique and different from each other rather than being very linear in terms of mechanics. Lastly, I would just like to touch on Fireteam Osiris because I think they are a great set of characters. I don't think they were particularly well written in Halo 5, and they were in Halo Bad Blood. But I am really confused of where their role is going forward. Will they get their own games? Will Buck get his own game with Alpha 9? They're in a really weird position for me, and I kind of want to see where they go going forward. And also, just on a side note, I would absolutely not make a speculative video for this if I truly didn't think it was a possibility, and I just want to emphasize the word possibility because nothing I'm saying from that book is set in stone. It sets the stage for a possibility, even though mechanically it would never be the same as before, and I think the characters themselves would need a lot of setup, and there would need to be prologues, because I know there's a lot of gripe with fans that they need to read the books or do further sort of looking into the lore to understand some of the newer games and understand the story. But with all that said, I want you to let me know in the comment section down below if you would like a Halo ODST 2, and also what would that look like. Well, make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell for every Ultimate Halo video going forward, and also a shout out to my boy Jared, because reasons. Anyway, my name's Fletch, follow me on Twitter. Peace.
Subscribe now to Ultimate Halo for more unfriggin' believable Halo content.